Hey y'all, iRick's Guy here, and I wanted to post an honest customer testimonial for Xfinity Mobile. Now, I'm going to go into a lot of detail, so if you're in a hurry, don't watch this video. But if you want to hear my in-depth opinions, please continue to watch. So here's my situation. I was a customer of a competitor, and actually I still am, AT&T. AT&T used to be good in my opinion, but they kept ratcheting up their pricing, and it just became ridiculous. And I was lied to multiple times by AT&T. My bill continued to go up, so I knew it was time to get off. Now, there's a lot of mobile providers out there, Xfinity being one of many. So I performed my exhaustive due diligence, and actually I got an offer in email from Xfinity Mobile, and I'm not going to quote all the details, but you get the gist of it. It was very enticing. Now, with that being said, always assume that everything is false to be safe. So I performed my exhaustive due diligence. I compared the numbers, the amounts that I'm paying for AT&T Mobile beside Xfinity Mobile if I did choose to make the switch, and what my savings should be. So that was my initial deep dive analysis and comparative between AT&T and Xfinity Mobile. So the next step I took, I don't trust anything that I see because I've been scammed multiple times, and it's just a mess. But I called Xfinity Mobile, and I was shocked when I called Xfinity Mobile because a human being answered the phone, and that human being seemed to be in the United States, and the United States is where I'm getting my cellular service. So I was really shocked, had a conversation with them, obviously extremely skeptical, and I went through all of the terms and confirmed, are we on a recorded line, and did everything that I could do in my power as a possible customer to better ensure that I should be protected should I decide to make the switch from AT&T to Xfinity Mobile. So everything, to the best of my knowledge, checked out. I decided to make the switch, not one line, but two lines, and this is where it's going to get interesting when we start talking about line one of two here in a minute. But I decided to make the switch, felt like it made sense because in essence, and I won't get into the weeds, but in essence, my device would be free. They would pay off the remainder of my AT&T device. Although, see, with AT&T, the way that AT&T did it, at least with the plan I had a free device, but if you go off of AT&T, then AT&T's not going to continue to reimburse the monthly payments for that device. Because had I stuck with AT&T was in essence giving me the device for free, because AT&T was applying the monthly payments for the device being iPhone. I think I had an iPhone 15 and an iPhone 15 Pro. But if you leave AT&T, obviously you've got to pay off the remainder of the device in full. So it would seem to make sense that, you just stay with AT&T, you're getting a free device. The reality was, with AT&T jacked up their service charges so much that even with receiving those reimbursements every month for the remainder due for the iPhones, it was still a lot more expensive than a lot of the competitors, Xfinity Mobile being one of the top candidates that I was considering. So the fact that Xfinity was willing to pay off the remainder due of both of my phones that I had with AT&T, that was the final incentive to enable me to seriously consider switching from AT&T to Xfinity Mobile. So I made sure all of this was thoroughly documented on a recorded line with Xfinity Mobile, because what I didn't want to do is run into a situation where I'm committed to switch and then I find out all the fine print and actually it's not a better deal after all. So everything seemed to check out. No issues there. It was a great interaction. It seemed to be a United States-based salesperson for Xfinity Mobile. They had they were a great, excellent communicator on the phone. I didn't have any forward hesitations at that point. I mean, it's easy for me to decipher a salesperson from a genuine person. They genuinely seemed to understand what they were selling, because I asked a lot of very specific questions that someone that was reading a script would not have been able to answer quickly. So felt good, got everything ordered, and this is where things get a little bit interesting. So like I said, I ordered 2 phones, both phones with trade-in kit, because obviously I'm trading in my old AT&T device. Both phones, a credit card, and I think it's a digital credit card. I don't know, well, actually I do know all the ins and outs, but I do know that it's going to be potentially weeks before I receive that. But that digital credit card, quantity 2, because I'm getting 1 for each of my 2 AT&T phones that I brought over, that will pay off my AT&T phones that I've already paid off, because I had to pay them off myself. But I know that I will be, because I've got it thoroughly documented, that I'll be receiving these quantity 2 gift cards. I don't know which credit card company it is, but I'll then have those, and that'll reimburse me for the payments that I made to pay off my 2 phones at AT&T, which I had to do to be able to move those 2 phones to Xfinity Mobile. So that's all well and dandy until this happened. So phone 2 of 2, because remember, I'm bringing 2 phones from AT&T to Xfinity Mobile. Phone 2 of 2 did not arrive, even though the carrier, and I'll say who it was FedEx, even though FedEx claimed that the package was delivered and signed for by me. Now, I've got a ton of cameras. There was nobody that came to the door, and nobody includes, there was no FedEx that came to the door. So this is where things get interesting. So I have to call Xfinity Mobile, and I go through the same route that I did earlier. I get the very, it was a different person, but a very well-spoken person from the United States, but then they transfer me. And this is where things change, and they change a lot. So they transfer me to the customer service side of Xfinity Mobile. Now, during peak business hours in the United States, I was hoping I would get a shore-based someone in the United States, but I didn't. And it gets even more interesting. So the person I got, they had an accent, so I knew they were overseas, which doesn't matter to me, but they were overseas. But upon asking tough questions, I'm like, this isn't a person with a foreign accent. This is an AI-generated entity. This isn't even a real person I'm speaking with. Because I went through the process over and over explaining what had happened, and then they give me the runaround, and there's really nothing they can do. And then what do? I call back hoping I can get a better agent, and every time I called back, Xfinity Mobile support, every time I called back, I continued to get another, what I am 99% confident was an AI voice. I continue to get that. So what do? I go back, I go as if I'm a new customer, get the very well-spoken United States base, which I assume they're in the United States, very well-spoken person in the sales team, but then all they do is transfer me back to the AI-generated Xfinity Mobile support number, which provides no value. Now, what's interesting, after multiple interactions, and keep in mind, throughout the course of many days, throughout the evenings, I probably devoted combined about 7 hours trying to escalate and work through this mess. That's how bad it was. But after every call that I placed to Xfinity Mobile, and after every customer support call I had, I would then receive a text, and it would say, and not to misquote, but the gist of it was, on a scale of 0 to 10, how satisfied were you with the support that you received? Of course, 0. It was unacceptable. It was horrible. Wasn't even a human on the other line. Well, then they say, could you explain why? And I explained why. And then what was interesting, a few minutes later, I got a call back from which did seem to be a human, or maybe it wasn't, but I got a call back and they said, sir, we got your your 0, can you explain why? And I said, well, I've already explained why within the response to your text message that you sent me. So then I got one of them on the line, and then I had, actually that call happened to come through at the time I was on the other line of my cell phone with Xfinity support, and this particular may have possibly been a person, I don't know. And the only reason I say that is because what I'm about to say, because I patched 2 calls in together. So I've got the Xfinity callback in response to my 0 out of 10 rating of customer satisfaction. And then I've got the other Xfinity person, which I think may have actually been a person on the other line, and they're merged. And the Xfinity person, that asked the question about, why'd you give a 0, this, that, and the other. And then I challenge them, okay, well, you've called me back. What can you do to expedite resolution of my issue? And they do, and that's, and even though the robotic, or what I call robotic AI voices at Xfinity, they can do the uhs and the ums and the unprofessional, but seemingly natural things that people say, that humans say. I think this was actually a person. But what happened, they started backpedaling. So they called me, the customer, to question, well, why did I give them such a low score? Why did I give them a 0 out of 10? But then I say, okay, well, what can you do to expedite resolution, blah, blah, blah. And then they start doing the uhs and the ums. And then the other person, not the person from Xfinity Mobile that had called me back because of my 0 score, but the other person says, sir, we can't have other people on the line, or something along those lines. I said, look, you're both Xfinity, right? And they said, yes. And I said, well, let's hash this out together. You're allegedly Xfinity Mobile support. You're allegedly somebody at Xfinity Mobile that's calling because I gave a 0 out of 10 customer satisfaction rating. Let's get it fixed. We're all here. We're all hands on deck. Let's get it fixed. Are y'all Xfinity? And then they did the uhs and the ums. And then person 2 of 2, the support person that I had called, keep in mind I was on the phone with them when the person number 2 from Xfinity Mobile called me in response to my 0 out of 10 rating. The person that wasn't calling in response to my rating hung up. I didn't ask them to hang up. I wanted everybody to stay on the line. I wanted all hands on deck. I wanted to get this fixed. But the person that called me back, so curious about the 0 out of 10, what can you do to expedite resolution? Well, sir, not to misquote, but the gist of it was, well, there's nothing we can do. We're just here to follow up. Okay, well, it's a pointless call. You've got a customer with a 0 out of 10 score, 0 being the lowest, and you call them to ask why, but then you ask why, and then you say there's nothing you can do. I said, that's unacceptable. You've wasted my time. This is unacceptable. Get someone on the phone that can help. Well, we don't have access to transfer calls. I said, well, you're useless, and I just gave it to them. I mean, facts, not an attack, just facts. You're calling to ask how the customer service experience was. I tell you again, there's nothing you can do. There's nobody you can transfer me to. You're worthless. So then I quickly realized, well, not quickly, because I've invested many hours of my time throughout the course of multiple days trying to get a human on the phone, and the only human I could get on the phone was someone from Xfinity Mobile sales team, which they're just sales. They're the first person, and hopefully in their minds, hopefully in Xfinity Mobile's minds, the only person that customer will hopefully interact with, because that was indeed a pleasant experience. The sales experience was pleasant, but you can't sell something and not support it. So what do? I go on Google. I go to Reddit. I Reddit. I try to find a number that I can call to get a human in the I was looking for customer retention department at Xfinity. Keep in mind, if you're not as old and gray-headed as I am, you may not know it, but Xfinity used to be called Comcast. So what I did, I found the corporate headquarters for Comcast, which I think was based out of Pennsylvania. So I found that. I called it. Like the other numbers I've called, I got the typical run around, press 1 for this, press 2 for that. I'm like, oh no, I'm calling corporate headquarters during standard East Coast business hours on a weekday, and I still can't get a human. Actually, I did get a human, and when that human answered, I said, sir, not to be confrontational, but are you with, and actually I didn't say Xfinity, I said, are you with Comcast Corporate? Are you at the Comcast corporate office? And then they started to stutter, and they said, oh, well, actually, we're in the Philippines. I said, okay, well, that's fine, you're in the Philippines. Can you get me someone within the customer retention department, executive escalations, whatever you call it, at Xfinity, in my case, Xfinity Mobile Corporate? I've been getting a runaround. I gave them the high level. Sure enough, the next day, I did receive a call from a lady that seems to be shore-based, seems to likely be probably not in the corporate office, but affiliated with it, possibly. And they go through the entire experience that I've encountered, and they assure me, which keep in mind, I've already been assured multiple times, by Xfinity Mobile's customer support AI bots. I'll call them AI bots. I'm telling you, they're not human. And if I'm wrong, comment below. But anyway, they assured me that everything would be taken care of. They opened an executive relations Xfinity Mobile case number. They gave me the case number. I read it back. I confirmed a ton of stuff. I said, okay, are we on a recorded line? Yes, we are. Okay, great. And while you're on the line with me, don't disconnect. And if you do, here's my number. Call me right back. But let's go through all the terms, everything I was promised, because I don't want this shipping delay to break, to sever the entire incentive for me switching from the old provider AT&T to Xfinity Mobile. So I got all of that on a recorded line. I had the case number, and I pressed them. I said, okay, I want this in writing. I want this. So I got the email with the case number, with everything referenced, so that as a customer, if I have to escalate it beyond Comcast, Xfinity Mobile, whatever you call it, at least I've got a documented electronic trail to protect myself as a customer. So at the time of filming this video, it's over a week later. I've only still received phone 1 of 2. Phone 2 of 2 still has not arrived. I've been, at the time of filming this video, I've been promised by my Xfinity Mobile executive escalations contact that this will be resolved at the first business day of next week. So will it be resolved? It better be resolved, because I'm beyond furious. And I mean, this is ridiculous. I mean, if you're on the fence about switching to Xfinity Mobile, and I will say this, so phone 1 of 2, I mean, I've only received 1 of the 2 phones. The other phone I did go ahead and activate, because I got everything in writing, electronically documented, that I should, that I will be protected as a customer, and that regardless of how long it takes them to get phone 2 of 2 to me, that I'll still receive all the incentives that I signed up for phone 2 of 2. So I went ahead and activated phone 1 of 2. I will say that the activation process, although it didn't entail speaking with any live agents at Xfinity, that was actually smooth. I mean, I was able to switch 1 of the 2 phones from AT&T to Xfinity Mobile. It was a very streamlined process, but had I run into issues, I would have been back down this rabbit hole of wasting hour after 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 hour with Xfinity Mobile customer service that's not even human. It's a bunch of AI robots just regurgitating a bunch of useless junk. So the activation process, I'll say that's fine. I remain cautiously optimistic that once I receive phone 2 of 2, and once I activate phone 2 of 2 for Xfinity Mobile, that hopefully it'll be, fingers crossed, a hassle-free experience. Because per my research, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, but per my research, it seems that Xfinity seems to use Verizon's towers. Now, if Xfinity is using Verizon's towers, one would assume that the quality of service is likely reliable. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. Comment below and tell me what you think. But despite all of this painful, I mean, countless hours, as I mentioned, of just getting tossed around I mean, not even by humans. I'm getting tossed around by AI voices. I mean, it's unacceptable. Being unable to get in touch with a human at Xfinity Mobile, except for the sales team, which all they do is pass you off and put you back in this loop with all of this AI generated voice junk. So, I mean, it's nasty, mean, nasty, and vicious. I mean, this has been a horrible experience. And I'm the customer. If they were worth anything, they should have said, okay, you didn't get the phone 2 of 2. Phone 2 of 2's on its way. It'll be there tomorrow. No. They continue to rope me along, make the customer waste hours of their time. And not to be arrogant, but I value my time at about $200 US an hour. So I have grossly trumped the value of that iPhone 17 Pro that they owe me. So I've wasted my time as a customer. Time is money. Unacceptable. So I mean, this has been a horrible experience, but again, my goal is cost savings. So if I can get, not if I can, when I do, because I don't lose. When I get what I signed up for, and there's no fine print that they're trying to be shady with me, and when this rate remains the same for a reasonable amount of time, and I mean several years, then I feel like I've accomplished something, because I've reduced monthly spend for quantity 2 smartphones. So, network needs to be reliable. I will give Xfinity credit for the Xfinity internet, the high-speed internet. I've got 1.2 gig. It's been rock solid. And, I'm going to give credit where credit's due. Xfinity internet has been rock solid. And hopefully Xfinity Mobile, since they seem to use Verizon towers, hopefully Xfinity Mobile will hopefully be as reliable as Xfinity internet. Because if it is, I've got what I need. I've got what I need. I've got an iPhone that I use just like I did with the old provider, AT&T. The only difference should be that the iPhone is now connected to Verizon's towers instead of AT&T's towers. So, I'm not sugarcoating anything. You've probably seen the deals. You're probably on the fence if you're watching this video. Should I switch to Xfinity Mobile? This has been my experience. I'm not sugarcoating anything. Will I post a follow-up video? Of course I will. When they resolve issues with phone 2 of 2 that I've not yet received from Xfinity Mobile, when they resolve issues with phone 2 of 2, I will post a follow-up video. And then ultimately, once everything is finalized and I've been using the service for a few months, I'll post a follow-up video. How's the service? How does Xfinity Mobile's quality of service compare to AT&T's quality of service? Which one do I prefer? Obviously dollars talk, but it doesn't matter if I'm spending $10 or $200. If I'm not receiving service, it's a useless service. And right now with Xfinity Mobile, my confidence level it remains a 0 out of 10. And even though I've got the alleged Xfinity Mobile executive relations support, and I've got the case number, and I've got the emails confirming all of that, and I've got a direct line of communication with the Xfinity Mobile executive relations or escalations, whatever they call it, contact, until my issue is resolved, I have 0 confidence. My confidence level could not go lower than, if it could go lower than 0, it would be in the negatives. It's that bad. And then the executive relations person, the last time I talked to them, although I was happy with what they delivered verbally and what they followed up with electronically, but then them saying, I hope you have a good weekend, I forget how they said it. They asked me what I was doing this weekend. I said, well, I wish I was activating a phone. They said, oh, well, they're looking forward to going out and having fun and having some drinks. And I'm thinking to myself, if this, which in their signature it says they're an executive relations person at Xfinity Mobile, but if they're wasting hours of my time throughout the week and then they're celebrating their personal time before they've even resolved the issue with their customer, that's poor customer service. And I say that because this is my takeaway after going through all of this so far with Xfinity Mobile. Xfinity Mobile has likely outsourced all or the majority of their human agents. They likely have, and from my experience, the Philippines, those are probably humans, because those people, it's probably a small quantity of them, is my assumption, and they're probably in the Philippines, and they probably support the Comcast headquarters in Philadelphia. That's my assumption. And then the executive relations, or whatever, executive relations or executive customer service, whatever it is, the definitely shore-based, definitely human contact that I've received that was talking about going out and having drinks, celebrate the weekend, those are probably what in the past were the standard call center agents, the standard contact center agents. So in essence, they've replaced, it seems that Xfinity has added an additional tier, which is non-human. It's the AI voices. They've got a skeleton crew of offshore agents that are a tier below the executive relations. And my assumption is that the executive relations, and I don't have visibility to this, I shouldn't, but my assumption is that they're probably running a skeleton crew of shore-based humans that can actually get the job done without having their hands tied. So, it has been an absolutely unacceptable customer service experience. And I will tell you, I've designed call centers, contact centers for over 10 years. So I've got a deep understanding of how a contact center should work. And Xfinity's contact center is pitiful. And there is nothing customer-centric about it. I mean, I have fought tirelessly to get this resolved. At the time of filming this video, it's still not resolved. But like I said, I will post a follow-up video. I don't know, tell me what you think. Are you Xfinity? Are you Comcast? Whatever you call yourself, comment below. Tell me what you think about my honest Xfinity Mobile customer testimonial video that you just watched. And are you a customer or potential customer? Comment below. Tell me your positive stories, your horror stories. I'd love to hear them, and I'm sure the viewers of this video would love to hear it too. But like I said, in all fairness, when this is resolved, I want to post a follow-up video and explain that. But if it's not, I will be posting follow-up videos anyway. Thanks for your viewership, and y'all have a good day. If you're on the fence about Xfinity Mobile, this has been my unfiltered Xfinity Mobile experience so far. And keep in mind, I've only got one of 2 phones migrated to Xfinity Mobile at the time of filming this. Y'all have a good day.
Hey y'all, iRick Guy here. I hope you enjoyed this video, and please be sure to subscribe to my channel, and when you do, ring that bell icon to be notified whenever I post another video. Thanks for your viewership, and y'all have a good day.